Alright guys, how y'all doing? As promised, I'm going to make more instructional videos, so that's what I'm doing. As y'all probably noticed, you got a slightly different view from what y'all normally get, and that is because I purchased a chest mount, so I can actually move around with me. I have an adapter piece that actually allows where I can have the camera outside of the actual case, so it'll so I can have the mic a little bit better, have a little bit better mic quality, I should say. So this is my first load out of home time, so yeah. So I'm going to show you guys what to do to set up some cable reels. So if you're wondering what my load is, like I just said, cable reels. So right now I've got to set up the racks for it. But as you can see, I have a bunch of stuff in my headache rack itself. So I've got to get to the actual cable racks itself, or the coil racks as they're called. Whew. Kicking my butt trying to get to it though. Have all this stuff up here, and because coil racks are something I use often, they're kind of in a inconvenient spot. So I'm getting 3 cable reels. So it's going to be a little bit of learning with this video, which is the point of my channel, to teach. So with that being said, 3 cable reels. Now, cable reels, you build the coil rack kind of the same way as you would for a coil. Actually, not kind of, the exact same way. The only difference is you do not build the coil, the rack, based off the weight of the cable reels. You build it based off of the piece of, I guess, the rolling parts of the cable of the reel itself. For example, let's say it takes let's say the reel is touching the trailer, like the rolling part, and it's touching it in like 2 different places. With that being said, you're only going to need two coil racks, or excuse me, 2 pieces, I guess 2 coil racks in and of itself to secure it properly. This right here is rubber mats. I'm not sure how big each individual piece is because I got these from a buddy, but I'm going to use it anyway. So to set this up, I'm going to have to take apart my this part right here. I already loosened it up a tad bit. I made another video before on how to do it, but I made it from my iPhone and it wasn't in person like this. So this one should be a little bit better quality, and it's going to be the whole kit and caboodle. I'll stop recording whenever they start loading because that'll make the video longer unnecessarily. Actually, no, I won't, because that's an important part of the video as well. I need to actually show that. Alrighty. 2. Another important thing, you want to make sure they match up in size. Because not all racks are created equal. Lucky for me, I think all mine are the actual same size for the most part. Nope. This one's a tad bit shorter. Those 2 are the same size. These 2 are almost the same size. Swap it around. Those don't match. Those don't match, so those are closer and those are close. That's about as good as it's going to get. So you want to take the friction mat, lay it down first. One, let's talk about the way I'm setting up my trailer. I'm supposed to be getting 3 cables, 3 cable reels. One is 13,000 pounds and the other 2 total 18,000 pounds. So I said I want the 18,000 up front more and the 13,000 towards the rear. And the reason is the 2 that equal 18,000 are getting dropped off second. The one that equals 13,000 is getting dropped off first. I want more weight towards the front of the trailer. For this particular instance, I want more weight towards the front. Because once they start taking off the weight, once they take off that one that's 13,000, I'll get off the rear of the trailer. Typically, you do want to air the weight towards the back of the trailer. However, for this particular case, the load is really not that heavy, so I'm not too worried about it. Now, what I'm going to do is I need to split the trailer into multiple sections. So I'm going to go ahead and move all my equipment off to the side, make it easy for me to access. Alright, so, alrighty. I wish this was a little bit tighter, keep it from spinning, but you know, you work with what you got. So what I want to do is split it into sections. I'm going to take the 2 that equal 18,000. I'm going to have 18 one right here, one right here, one right here, and the last 13 right about here. So I'm going to take this one right here. Typically I want it to be a slightly shorter, however I can't. So what I'm going to do is have it for the width of the trailer, and that little bit of extra might just blow in the wind, but it'll be fine. So go ahead and set it up. You take each one, lay it out. Now, I don't know how wide the cable reel is just yet. Okay, so you see how they're loading it? How are you loading these? Do y'all have a way to pick it up in the middle, or are you not going to do that?
No, there's no way to pick it in the middle.
So y'all going to have it where it can roll forward and backwards?
Well, what to do is when you get your things lined up,
okay,
then we'll have to sit down on the toolbox.
Okay, that's what I'm curious. I just want to make sure it's lined up a certain way. All right, no problem. Anyway, no big deal. Small thing to a giant. I don't know how wide it is, so what's going to happen is I'm going to set this up right now, for the time being, like such. And I'll adjust based off of how big this thing is actually. Now, the reason is a coil, let's say a coil, you're picking up a coil that's like 46,000 pounds. One of these is good for every 10,000 pounds. However, for a coil, for a rack of wire, you're not really concerned with the weight as far as where the black part's over there. As you see how wide that is, you want that to line up with the actual coil rack itself. So I want to get it as even as possible. So what's going to happen is he's going to come, he's going to come and lift it, and I'm going to adjust it based off of how wide this thing is.
How wide?
Oh no, I'm talking to the camera. I'm making an instructional video. I also want it centered in the trailer. So he's going to come, he's going to get it to just about the center point. All right, hold that for me. Could you lift it up a tad bit? Because I have to have the racks up underneath it. Could you lift up a tad bit for me? There we go. Perfect. See, so now that he has it centered, what I'm going to do is take this right here and slide it up under where it meets. So you see how this part right here will line up with the coil rack. And I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. I'm going to take this part right here, slide it on in. Slide it on in. So when that pressure comes down on it, when it starts spreading the wood, it will still be held up by the coil rack itself. And that's pretty centered with it. Right now I'm just making small adjustments to make sure it's perfect with it, or about as perfect as I can get it. All right, go ahead and drop it down, sir. Now, keep going, you're good. I'm just talking for the camera. I'm narrating what I do. You see how it's even with the trailer. On top of that, the coil rack itself is even with the actual spool. So even though, let's say the spool was 40,000 pounds, me personally, I would use more coil racks. However, I don't need to use more coil racks. It is good in and of itself. But once I start tightening down, it will dig into the wood right here. But that rack right there will protect it. You see how it filled it out on both sides? It fills the bad boy out. So when I tighten it down, it's not gonna be rolling all over the place. So I'm gonna go ahead and set up the next ones, and I'll do that off camera, and I'll start showing the securement phase next. All right, guys. So finished getting loaded. As you can see, 9,000 pounds right here, 9,000 pounds right here, 13,000 on the rear. Now, with that being said, the part that everybody likes to hear about is the securement part. Now, I've mentioned it before in a previous video, how to secure it. You know, the reasons behind it, why, etc., etc., etc. That'll spread out whenever I put the chain down, so tighten down. Now, with that being said, understanding the rules of flatbed. If I'm going to do indirect securement, I only have to secure for half the weight of the object. If I do direct securement, I have to secure for the weight of the whole object. Now it depends on what it is, give or take a little bit, depending on the load. But let's just say this load right here, if I'm going to use direct securement, I'd have to secure for the weight of each object. Indirect, only half. But what do we do on Raymond Keith Gibbs trucks? We do not half-ass, we do not just do DOT minimum. We do above and beyond. So what I'm going to do is, even though this whole thing right here is technically like 8,600 something odd pounds, round up to 9,000. Each chain has a wheel of what? 6,600 pounds. So 6,600, yes, it would be half, but also look at it, it rolls. So if I had one chain, forces could make this thing roll back and forward. So we're going to bump it up and do 2 chains. 2 chains is equivalent to, what is 6,600 times 2? That is 13,200 pounds. So 2 chains will cover the entire weight of this object over 100%. This is the same. This is the same. These two are the exact same. This one is the 13,000 pound one. So what I'm going to do is, even though 2 chains would be enough, because it's indirect securement, therefore I only technically have to do half the weight of it. 2 chains would be enough. However, I do pound for pound on my truck. So I will throw 3 chains on this one. I will do 2 3/8 chains, 2 3/8s, and 3 3/8s right here. So I'm going to head on over to the headache rack, grab the stuff I need, move my bungees out the way, move a little bit of the stuff that I have out the way, because It's all over the place. Woo. And this is my load out of the house because I'm just leaving home time today. Alrighty. So I'm gonna grab all my supplies. So I don't have to keep on running back and forth. Alright, I'll go ahead and pre-position the chain to where they all have to go. Like I said, I need 3 for the rear one. So here's 1, 2. Let me go ahead and grab my third one. Here's the third one. Here's 3. And I'll go ahead and move the other 2 per spool. Now, that's 7 chains total. I'm going to need 7 ratchet binders to hold it down. I'll need bungees in a little bit, but not right now. Put my bucket back. Gotta stay organized, gotta stay neat. Especially as a flatbedder, because there's so much stuff you're responsible for. It's a little bit windy out here. It's only going to get colder as I go up north more. Oh, that's about to fall off. 2. 3. 4. 5. 6. And 7. Alrighty. See how long I've been here. Checking along with this. I'm also going to grab a gallon of water to have out here with me. Even though I'm not thirsty, stay hydrated. Now, like I said, I'm going to keep on moving out all my equipment where it needs to be. I wish I could get the camera to stay straight, but the swivel mount that I have on it, that part doesn't lock down for whatever reason. Alright, so now we start throwing chains. Since I'm back here, I'm going to start with the big one. Alright, getting it centered up. That being said, first, let's get the knot out of my daggone chain. I don't even know how I got that in there, but it is what it is. So, route the first one through the top middle like such. Okay, now I want to get centered up. The rule of thumb is you want to use 2 welds. You could use this thing right here, which is 2 welds, 1, 2. I could use this one and this one, 1, 2. I could use this one and this one, 1, 2. Could use this one and this one, or this one and this one. But I also want to look at the fact that I want it to be about as even up and down in the middle as possible. So I'm going to accomplish 2 welds. I'm going to run it down this one right here, back up the other side of this one like such, and connect it. See how that's about centered? About centered with this right there in the middle. So I'll step back, give you guys a good view. Centered right up the middle. I'm going to run to the other side now. And go ahead and run it through like this. Oh no, see, it pushed the wood over. We're gonna have to get this guy to lift it back up real quick. You see that piece of wood right there on the side? It pushed it over. Didn't realize that. So I'm gonna get him to lift it up real quick, and I'll get back to you guys right after. Sorry about that. So what ended up happening was this piece right here was actually hanging off about 6 or 7 inches. I just had him come, lift it back up so I could slide it in the middle, sit it back down. All right, anyway, back to what I was saying. So drop this through there, run it back through, and latch it on down like such. Booyaka. So now you got the 2 welds, it's lined up in the middle, same thing on the other side. Now what I'm going to do is, some people like to alternate ratchets. I personally don't. So when I do a load check, I can literally just run down the side and check every single ratchet, call it a day, instead of having to, I mean, I walk around the whole truck anyway, but come back, like run down, check all the ratchets on one side, just have them all, have it uniform, that's why. Now, I'm going to get the slack out. Another thing you want to look at is try to avoid, as much as possible, having twists in the chain. It'll just make it a little bit easier. It'll keep it, not easier I should say, but it'll keep it from really just loosening up throughout the duration of the trip. Get about as much slack out as you can. Take a little bit of extra chain, run it through there, get out as much slack as you possibly can manipulate. Take the ratchet, put it to the settings where it'll tighten it down, and tighten down. Just tighten it down. As you can see, it gets tight pretty quick. Alright. This one holds it right down. You see how it digs into the wood? Because it's getting pulled down to the trailer. This is why you want it to be set up right by the coil rack. So when it digs down and pushes the wood out, the racks will stop it. So all those people that say you got to have racks all across the middle, why does it matter? Because let's just say these broke and that right there in the middle stays put. It's literally nothing is putting any force on it. So what is the point? That's why you do not secure these the same way that you would secure an actual coil. A coil is putting force on every single part of the rack. The spools right here are putting force on only 2 parts of the rack. So now, when it comes to indirect securement, you want to have the chains as much as possible at a 45-degree angle. So that one's up, down the middle. As much as possible at a 45-degree angle. So I'm going to take this one right here, run it through these two, so I can accomplish that 45-degree angle. Then I'll take it, run it through the center of this spool right here. Then toss to the other side, maneuver to the other side. And then fight my way to get the chain through the top part in the middle. It would have been easier if I got on the trailer, but I didn't feel like it, so I mean, whatever. You want it, when you line it up and attach the chain, you want it to be even with the other side. So the same spot that I put it on the other side, I'm going to do it right here. Run it through, down, back up. That's all she wrote for that particular one. Just like before, I will take the slack out and I will ratchet it down and make it tight, or at least get the ratchet to hold it in place, because once I put the other chain on, it's going to keep on wanting to do this number, go forward, backwards, or forward, backwards. So I want to get to a certain amount of tension, so when I put the front one on, it'll equal out and pull in the, that 45-degree in the backwards and forward direction, so it'll actually get tight and pull it down and hold it in place. Because if I tighten this one all the way down, I can keep on tightening this one down, and what ends up happening is I can pull it off the rack and actually roll it. That's why you only want to tighten it but so much, and then do the next one, the front one, and tighten that one but so much until you get to a point to where it's pretty tight, and you can just tighten it down from there, and it's not going to move, it's just going to stay in place. So go ahead and open this up as much as I can without undoing it. I keep mine pretty oiled, so I'm honestly not really worried about it locking up on me. Alright. So I'll take this, as before, take out as much slack as possible from the chain and tighten it down. Alright. You see how it starts getting a little bit tighter? That's about right where I want it for now. So I'm going to do the rest off camera so I can save the link to the video and not make it obscenely long for no reason. Once I come back, you will see that I've done the front one, middle one, and finished the rear one. The front and the middle one will have 2 at a 45-degree angle, and this one will obviously have the 3 chains. And after that, I'll come back, show you the cleanup, and we'll go from there. Alright guys. Alright guys, so load is secured. As you see, the bungees, after you tighten them down, you'll have excess chain hanging, so it just swings. You lock it down, you wrap it around the handle, you use the bungee to hold it in place, and it's a lock. As you can see, 2 45s, one across the middle for a 13,000 pound one, with a total of 18,000 pound securement. This one, 13,000 pound securement for a 9,000 pound spool, 45-degree angle in both directions, same as for this one. These things will not go anywhere. With that being said, now I'm going to have to go ahead and clean up my little bit of stuff and head on out of here. This goes to one stop in Wisconsin, and the other stop is in Minnesota. For all you truckers out there, obviously y'all know there's 2 states border, so whatever, not a big deal. I don't even know when it's supposed to deliver, to be honest. They just gave me the load and I just I just left home and went and did it. Also, these friction mats, this black stuff right here, the companies don't give them, well, I take that back. Rail and ATS don't give these out. Typically when you go to places and get coils and stuff, they'll give them out there. But once you get them, guard them with your life, because they are hard to come by, which is funny because we actually use them in the flatbed community. But then you go over to the van community, they give those shits out like free candy at a lot of places, and those guys don't even, they like barely ever use it. So I think that's funny. So if you ever go somewhere and you see them, like you see van drivers like throwing them out, be like, hey, my man, let me go ahead and take that off your hands. Get it, hold on to it. Also, companies like this, ATS, they don't always give out dunnage. You see this dunnage right here, and the dunnage I had to use, I actually got that myself. I didn't buy it. I got it off of another load, and it was still good, so I kept it. However, imagine if I didn't have it today. This is my load out of the house. Imagine if I didn't have it. By the way, this is how you build a false bulkhead. I'm just doing this right now to hold this in place. But this is how you build a false bulkhead. Three pieces of wood together. Do not use more than 3. Anything more than 3 becomes very unstable. And have it on top of each other across, as you saw in the chain. Drop it down one side. Drop it down one side, route it around, come back to the other, and have it meet up here at the top. This is also another trick right here that I'm about to show you guys that I learned from another veteran flatbedder, some old dude, not too long ago. He showed me this. Pretty neat. So I, by all means, take it and use it, and it will save your knuckles in the long run. Now, what I mean is this. If I didn't have those 2 pieces of wood that you just saw, when I tighten this down and get to a certain point, the notch on this thing right here would actually start rubbing against the top of that bulkhead, making it hard to secure. Get you some 2x4s. These aren't 2x4s, but they're good enough. Get some 2x4s and have it to where it routes up underneath the chain long enough to it routes under the chain right there. Get 2. All you need is 2. 1 for each side. Now, once you get those in place, try not to fall. I think my girlfriend's calling me because I heard the music stop inside the truck. So, I have to call her back in a second. But yes, same girlfriend, obviously the one that rode with me when I did that live video a while ago. But now you'll throw the chain up on the other side as well. Make sure this is not alright. Now you see how it elevates that part off the top of the wood. Now go ahead and start cinching it down. Oh, come on. It'll get tight, don't worry. Actually, it's a little bit looser than don't want, there you go, that's even now. And even, alright. I don't want to seem, give the appearance that it's tight and it's actually not tight. Now once it starts getting tight so I don't have to hold the middle down anymore, you notice how it's elevated off the wood because of the extra wood that I have. There you go. False bulkhead built. You see how it's very easy for me to tighten it down. It's not touching, so I can reset the position, not scrape the wood. I don't have to bust my knuckles up trying to hold it down. Bada boom, bada bang. Tight. This bulkhead, even though it's not used to stop anything, it is tight and not going anywhere. Now, I do my final walk around of my load. Held down in position. Held down in position. This is my water, obviously. All three held down in position. Walk around to the other side to ensure that the chains are the way they need to be. Loop back to themselves. Two welds, loop back to themselves. Two welds, back to itself. Welds, self, so on and so forth. Make sure it's nice and tight. This load is ready to rock and roll. I will do my first vehicle check within the first 25 to 50 miles. After that, I will do a vehicle check every 150 miles of the duration of this trip. Alright guys, as always, like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you for watching. If you need any other advice on other loads, let me know. Now that I have this chest mount, I will start doing more loads, more videos. I will find a way to upload them more frequently because my phone is my hotspot for the laptop, so it is what it is. But that's the rig, ready to rock and roll. All right, you guys have a great day.